Hello, welcome to the Live Reality Games podcast. My name is Steven, and I am here today with y'all to talk about season 41, a season recap, if you will. We're about 1 week since the season finale. I'm sure there's been a lot of thoughts and feelings that have come out since then, so I'm here today to talk all about it. And in honor of having our first Canadian winner, we have the most recent winner of Survivor British Columbia, Braden Smith. Braden, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Were you rooting for Erica? It's like because she's Canadian, like therefore I must root for her, or were you surprised with her victory?
See, I was a little surprised with the win. See, I was rooting for her obviously because there was that factor. I'm like, okay, let's go Canada, let's go. But at the same time, I was like such a big Xander fan going into the finale. So like, I don't know. I was a little bit uh surprised by it, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Well, Braden, when you played this past summer, you had a pretty commanding victory, right? You won 5 immunity challenges. You were in the majority almost every single vote of the season. You found it. You found hidden immunities and advantages. No one cast a vote against you. Was there any player like this in the season? You looking at like, yeah, that's me playing. Like, did any survivor you feel like match your playing style?
See, I want to say I really liked the game that Xander played. I just kind of felt like some kind of connection to him because of like the young guy
Mm-hmm.
aspect. Oh my God, what just fell? Like the young guy aspect. Not really knowing what he's doing and just wanting to
Mm-hmm.
go out there to prove himself, finding an idol early on, that kind of a game. So I saw myself a lot in Xander and I really liked this whole game. So that would probably be my answer.
So I guess what should Xander have done differently, or what would you have done differently if you find yourself in season 41 in Xander's position?
See, with Xander's kind of position, like I completely understand the finale. I personally think that he played a little bit better of a game. Like with like because when I vote as like a juror when I play online games, I vote for a story
Mm-hmm.
rather than just kind of like I don't know. I understood both sides. It was just kind of like I don't think there was very much that he could have done with like the group of players that he was playing with. I think it made complete sense as to why Erica won from their
Mm-hmm.
standpoint. And I think he really fumbled the ball in his final tribal council. So if there was one thing that I could do differently, it was probably maybe figure out what I was gonna say a little bit more in the final tribal council because I think that was definitely like the big downfall in his game.
Well, one thing I think Erica had, like you said, is she had a very cohesive story that she could
Yeah.
sell of like, this is my game and how it developed through the game. Came in as a lamb and now I'm here as a lion, right? And I think at least it seemed when we were listening to Xander's final council speech, he kind of struggled in that aspect.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's get an update from you. So how has life been since Survivor Canada season 8 or
Oh,
season 8? Yeah.
life's been up and down. High school is mean sometimes, but hey, it's been all right. It's been all right. I'm enjoying things. I think I'm doing well. Almost, I'm finally on break now, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to go back to school anymore. So that's good. Um, yeah, I'm just excited to sleep in and stuff. I clearly me sleeping in, missing the. Anyways,
It's winter break. It's allowed.
you know. But yeah, it's been good. I think I'm managing well, and I am just ready to graduate, honestly.
Are you applying did you apply for the actual Survivor show?
Oh boy, no, I haven't. I don't. Am I able to? See the thing is, like, I know you can apply as like a
Mm-hmm.
17-year-old and a 16-year-old and stuff like that, but like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want to because of my kind of thought on it is like, if I'm gonna go on Survivor, I want the like conditions of it to not be a huge struggle, and I feel like being 17 might suck a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Going out there and being like, okay, I feel really frail and weak right now compared to
Mm-hmm.
these adults. Whereas like Survivor BC, that was like a week. It really sucked. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was a struggle. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll wait until I'm in my 20s or something like that and apply when I'm at like that spot where I'm able to like really go for it. You know what I mean? So
So you're worried about kind of like the physical fatigue of playing for like 26 days,
yeah,
no food. Here's
yeah,
your fish as a reward.
yeah, exactly. Especially, yeah.
Well, I'm curious. So after playing Survivor BC and then you watch season 41, did your understanding or like way you watch Survivor change as a result of playing Survivor BC?
Yeah, that's actually really funny you say that. It really did. I said it like so many times out when we were filming Survivor BC that like I will never make fun of someone for like a fruit reward or making fun of somebody. Like if I had watched this season and saw like 7 people or whatever it was give up their spot and immunity for food, like for like the rice for the tribe, I would have thought, you guys are idiots. Play in the challenge. What are you doing? You're supposed to
Mhm.
be safe, but like I get it. You know what I mean? And I was only out there for like 7 days, and they were out there with nothing for like 28 days, and I was like, oh boy, like I understood it, and I was like, more people need to step down. What are you guys doing? You need to eat. So like my mindset has completely changed, at least like on the food and like fatigue, the physical fatigue kind of aspect on that. So I think that's like really really interesting.
So in Survivor BC, that your very first night of the game, you had to sleep with no sleeping bags or no nothing, and it was pretty chilly. So I always think like playing these games really teach you to appreciate how difficult those conditions can be in the game. In the season
Mhm.
finale, we have a whole montage of the players just suffering through a rainstorm at night. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Oh my god, I saw that and I just thought of how miserable it was that first night. Like I was miserable that first night. I maybe
Mhm.
slept like an hour and a half. Like that was rough. And then I see that it's like pouring rain, and then they were talking about like I don't know, they had to do things like when Tiffany was leaving like the Yasa camp, I'm pretty sure it was. They said the only thing that would wake Xander up is the rain. And I was like, "Oh, it's like those kind of things." I was like, because like I was struggling, um, even just without the sleeping bags and
Mhm.
without the tarp, just on the ground. But they got to do that every day. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know. I definitely I felt for them, but I was like, how is this so much? Like I understand more, and I'm like I used to watch it and be like, oh, suck it up, whatever. But now I'm like, oh my god, like I don't know. My mindset has changed. I think that's a good way to sum it up.
So, what was your thoughts on the way the season was? It was kind of like compressed or expedited, right? Instead of 39 days, we had 26 days of gameplay. I mean, did you like that? Would you personally prefer to play in a longer game, the shorter game?
Um, I thought I wasn't gonna like it, but it felt like the game was being played at a lot more faster pace, and people were like
Mhm.
playing the game harder, if that kind of makes sense. Which I really liked that aspect, because you can kind of see it in like the desperation of the players, if that makes sense. Like you could tell that they felt like they were being rushed. You know what I mean? They felt like they were being pushed to their limits, and like
Mhm.
I guess with like that was the whole theme of the season, like really pushing them to the limits. So I thought it was really, really good. And I actually might like it a little bit more, the shorter game, because then it's not just like a long haul to the end. It's like you just got to get things done. You know what I mean? So I like that aspect.
Well, because in Survivor BC, you sometimes had 4 of the 5 tribal councils a day you dealt with, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, having just one a day for 5 days, that would feel like a luxury for you.
Yeah, exactly. I really liked the aspect in Survivor BC, like especially that day 6 that we had like final 7 to final 2. That was awesome. Like I hated it, but it was awesome. You know what I mean? Because I really felt like I was playing Survivor. Because
Mhm.
I was thinking I had to be thinking every second the Chiro would be like, okay, tribal in an hour after the challenge, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta vote my friends off. You know what I mean? So it's like I really like that fast pace aspect, because it really feels like you're playing the game. So I definitely like the shorter seasons. Yeah.
Well, because even in the time of SRBC, you've probably formed some very meaningful bonds, relationships with the players around you.
hmm Yeah, I mean, like I still talk to quite a few of them. Like we're I really good friends. I hung out with Andrew like 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I really love these people, and I can tell that a lot of them are gonna be friends for life, and we're gonna go out there for next one. A lot of them are helping out on production, I'm pretty sure. So it's like we're all gonna meet up again. We're all gonna be good friends. So yeah, I really like the cast. Like it's such a good group of people too. Like they are all such great people, and I'm just like I don't know. I'm excited for that. So.
I'd like to step back and talk about Erica as the winner, right? She's the first Canadian winner. She's the first female winner we've had in 7 seasons. She has a commanding victory, a 7-1-0 near shutout at the very end. What are your thoughts about her game?
I actually really, really like the story of her game. Like I said, like seeing somebody go from like here in terms of like their own perception, even like as well, like to like here in their own perception, and just the way that she was able to like talk at the final tribal council and kind of own the whole game and put it together like a story. Like I'm a sucker for a story, so I really, really
Mhm.
liked it. You know what I mean? Like, would I have preferred the underdog story? Maybe a little bit, just because how I feel about myself as a player, but Okay. But I really, really liked her game. Like I felt like it was also an underdog story at the same time, but not in the sense of like physical game. Like I thought it was an underdog sense in like her whole character, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And I love character. I think it was great. She played like really well rounded, which was like I loved it. You know what I mean? She was never like up here as the target. She was never down here. And she was always just somewhere in between. And then she was able to like take ownership over it at the end. And I really, really liked it. So I think she played a really well-rounded game, and I think that's why she earns so much respect in the jury.
Hmm.
And I'm glad that she was able to capitalize on it, and make people see it all.
One strange thing about her game is that she's on Luvu, the blue tribe, which wins every challenge in the pre-merge. Because of that, we tend not to see a lot of the dynamics or what's going on in the tribe. I mean, let's say you're on Survivor. Would you prefer to be on a tribe that never loses, sometimes lose? Or let me rephrase it. Would you prefer to be the tribe that never loses, Luvu, the tribe that sometimes loses, Yase, or the tribe that always loses, Ua?
See, I've been like when I play games online, I've been in every different scenario. Like I don't know. I'm thinking about different scenarios where I've lost every time. It absolutely sucked. And then I'm thinking about times where I've won every time. And then people were like, okay, but you were safe the whole season when I got to the finale. You know what I mean? People were like, what did you do in the pre-merge? I was like, I won the challenges. I'm like, okay, well, that's not good enough to the person next to you. So like I get the aspect. If I was on Survivor, I feel like people would understand more winning like I would rather win every challenge, you know what I mean? I would rather be safe because it you don't get voted out, you know what I mean? There's no
Mm-hmm.
stress, there's no factor to leave the game.
Hmm.
And I think if you're able to win every challenge in the pre-merge, I think it's a good thing to do. And I think people should respect it in the end, if that kind of makes sense.
Well, I think in your season of Survivor BC, your tribe loses two challenges. You go to two tribal counts, and your tribe ends up voting unanimously through it. I think that's probably the dream scenario is that
Yeah.
you do have a chance to show trust, but you vote unanimously with each other, showing trust. Therefore, your tribe is very cohesive and intact because in your season, your tribe was pretty cohesive. The other tribe was a hot mess.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's a good aspect that now that you say that, to like build those kind of trusts in a vote
Hmm.
before, like to get that solidified before the merge. I definitely do agree with that. And to be honest, I think the Kwantlen tribe was like a perfect pre-merge tribe. And I loved it very much because we all stuck together. What there was like I think there was like 6 of us in the final 9,
Hmm.
something like that. Yeah, it was like yeah, I love that tribe. I loved it. So I think that might be like perfect case scenario. I'm still on board with winning every challenge, you know what I mean? But solidifying the trust in a vote is very important. I definitely agree with that.
So I think just one of the things we'll never quite know is how true was the narrative of Erica was on the chopping block of her original Luvu tribe.
Right.
Out like was she actually the target, or was Sydney going to be the target, or was Nasir going to be the target? I mean, I think the show wanted to kind of show her in danger, but how legitimate that danger was, we'll never know. And maybe survivors just sometimes it takes luck, and luck might be you win out through all your like tribal immunity challenges at the start of the
Hmm.
game.
Yeah.
The next big moments for her are probably that final 10, that final 8, because the final 10, Shannon, we see she's routinely she wants Erica out,
Mm,
and Erica wins that immunity at final 10, and when they have that weird
right.
split tribe thing going on, so ends up she's immune, she's with her ride or die Heather, and you have Shan, Ricard, and Nasir, and somehow Nasir ends up being targeted over the duo of Heather and the Heather and Erica duo, and I always find that I feel like that was a pretty pivotal moment in the game.
I definitely agree. I always love that twist when they take the final 10 or 8 and they split them into two
Mm-hmm.
tribes. That is like one of my favorite things. Anytime I've hosted an org or
Mm-hmm.
even the one I host a survivor game at my high school, I do that every season and they hate it. And it's my favorite thing ever. Yeah, I always love that twist. And I always find like you get like the best little parts of the game there because either somebody's really screwed over and they can get out of it or they don't
Mm-hmm.
or nobody's screwed over, or it's like a 2-2 or 3-2 or something. Like the numbers on that is always so great when you limit people to what they can vote because it makes the game less easy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a really pivotal part in the season. I mean, like Nasir, I thought Nasir was going to win the game at
Mm-hmm.
that point in the game. So I don't know. I think it was a really pivotal point, and I think the way that they went about it was really well as well.
Do you think it was a mistake of Shannon Ricard not taking out Heather to break up that duo?
I mean, maybe it ultimately cost them,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like getting the Seer out at a point like that and blindsiding him with the idol in his pocket, I think it was a really good move for their game, even
Mm-hmm.
though I don't really know. Were they like really closely tied to Nasir? Like, was it
I
like?
feel like Nasir was more in their court than not, but I think he was enough in the fringes that, maybe what happens, he's at the final late, he's voting against Shan. Like
Yeah.
maybe that's where things go. It's hard to tell whether he would have stuck around them like too long, but fatally too long, or if he would have jumped ship right after. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a good move to get Nasir out because I thought he was gonna win from like watching it. So I think it was a good move. Maybe it cost him ultimately,
Hmm.
but I don't know. It's one of those toss ups, you know.
Hmm. I mean, from there after the final eight, where you have the big flip on Shan, the game is a little bit on rails as you have the new majority of Xander, Heather, Eric, and Ricard kind of taking out the old majority. And I think the only realistic question is Ricard going out or not? And he's
Right.
going out, and that seals Erica's victory in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an idea of like if it's Xander, Heather, and Deshaun? Do you have an idea of I guess who you vote for or who would win?
I mean I was a Xander fan the whole
Hmm.
season just because I saw myself in it. I think I would have voted for Xander. See, I yeah, I think Xander wins in that kind of scenario unless
Hmm.
he fumbles in final tribal council. I
Hmm.
think a little bit of the pressure from him making that decision and really being like, because another big flaw in his game was bringing Erica. I
Hmm.
completely understand the reasoning, but I think that was a big flaw because I don't think she would have won fire making. So then, with it being Deshaun, Heather, and Xander, I think he doesn't make that big mistake move. He isn't having pressure from the jury to, like, why did you bring her? Why she's right
Hmm.
here? Why do you think we disrespect her game? That kind of a thing. And then her completely owning final tribal council. Let me just say that was crazy. I really like the way that she could like talk her way out. Um, yeah, I think with Xander not making those two decisions, not having that pressure from the jury, I think it's his game for the taking unless he screws up final tribal council again.
So, are we in an era where, like, at the final four fire making, you just need to win the challenge, then walk in the fire making and knock someone out? Is that where we are right now?
Like I think it's like ever since Chris did that to Rick, I think the bar has definitely been raised for
Hmm.
that little twist. I don't think necessarily. I think winning the challenge is probably important, but I've always noticed that when people win the fire making challenge, it really ups their chances. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like that's even like hosting that in orgs or watching it happen in the season. You know what I mean? Like it just like it always ups chances, which is why I think he was so stressed out about it with Erica because that's like your glory moment. You're
Hmm.
thrown to the sharks and you're able to swim your way out and throw the other person in. You know what I mean? So I think it's definitely a big yeah.
Well, at this point, we've seen every permutation, right? We've seen the winner of the season be taken, so they lose the mini challenge, but are taken to the end. So Tommy and Erica both have achieved that. We've seen a person win the mini challenge and step in the fire, like you said, Chris from Edge of Extinction. We've seen a player win and put other people in the fire and still win, and we've seen people go to fire and then win that, then win the season. So we've seen, I feel like, every permutation. And again, Chris Underwood has set unrealistic expectations for us mere mortals, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hypothetical you. So in your season of Survivor BC, there was a final four. There was no fire making challenge, but there ended up being a final. There ended up being a tie and a tiebreaker challenge, sending a player home. You had won immunity at that point. So let's say hypothetically, Survivor BC had done final four tiebreaker challenge. Would you have stepped in the tiebreaker challenge to knock out a competitor, let's say Jamie or Jessica, or would you have let like what happened, Jamie and Jessica compete? You just watch from afar and you take Will with you.
See, that's an interesting question.
Hmm.
I feel like in a sense I would have like when I was sitting there, I was like, I am just so glad I'm safe because of like the severity that I needed the immunity wins. I feel like I wouldn't risk it at final four.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't think I would have just like the kind of spot that I was in, knowing that there's possibilities either way that it goes between Jamie and Jess. I think I was able to sit back and watch and still have that kind of like, okay, there's a chance. Because I don't think at that point for my game, I didn't think that I needed that glory moment. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I think both of them winning that did help their case in a sense. Like
Hmm.
I know like Jamie's like, ooh, like almost falling like 30 million times. It was definitely like a wow, that was beautiful. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I don't think I would have needed something like that in a sense. If I felt like there was like because when they were tied like that, I was like, okay, I'm okay with whichever way this goes. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like it was to the point where I was like, I can work with this no matter which one stays in the final three. So if there was a way that I really, really, really
Mhm.
needed it to go, maybe my mind would have changed on that. Maybe I would have potentially stepped in because I really like competing and I always like to prove myself like that. But I don't know, with the way that it was going and the kind of dynamic of the tribe, I don't think I would have needed to.
So let me rephrase this. Let's say, like Survivor 41, you're heading into Final Three, and it's the Final Four, and you have immunity. And do you then step in to make sure you knock out the person you need to knock out, or you just let fate determine who you're sitting next to?
I think that changes the narrative a little bit
Hmm.
because I know for a fact Jamie had a better story than me, which is
Hmm.
why I could not bring to the end as badly as I wanted to. So I think in a sense, maybe, yeah, maybe that does
Hmm.
change the narrative a little bit. Maybe I put myself up against Jamie for that little, like, we've been close the whole time. Here's the story.
Hmm.
Whichever one wins the season, basically. So I don't know. I think maybe that changes the narrative a little bit because I did not want to sit in the final with JB at all, especially if he won the fire game like that or like the tiebreaker game like that. So I think that does change the narrative a little bit, and maybe that does change my answer.
So getting back to Xander and why Xander maybe lost, do you think the main reasons for and we're all at the very end of the game, which is making incorrect decisions who to sit with, or he should have been doing things earlier in the merge to try to set himself up better at the end?
I see. The thing is, I don't think there was very many ways he could have changed his
Hmm.
merge game to set himself up better, just
Hmm.
because he was like kind of dealt like a bad hand throughout the
Hmm.
merge and always on the bottom. I think the one thing they really capitalized on was like his awareness and being able to understand like where people were doing things and
Hmm.
why there was different advantages against him and not like they really capitalized on his awareness. And I think maybe just like taking because I think he was just so caught up in like the go 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 because it was a really fast game, right? And with
Hmm.
somebody at his age, you're like really focused on the oh my gosh, it's so much at once. I know I was stressed out to the max, and that was 7 days. So I don't know. I think he was really focused on the go 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 because he's probably never like been through something that fast paced and that intense before.
Hmm.
So I think yeah, the one thing was his awareness. Maybe if he took a step back, took a deep breath and was like, all right, what's going on? You know what I mean? I feel like that could have been like one of the main things that he could have done better was really understand like what's going on around him.
Hmm.
But other than that, I think his big flaws were definitely at the end of the game. And I think regardless of his awareness, if he didn't make those kind of decisions and fumble so hard at Final Tribal, I think he still could have won.
So there's been discussion regarding that there is a bias against really young players, and that the really young player, think of your Spencer, think of your Xander. I don't know how old Dean is, probably not Dean, but you have these really young players get to the end of the game. The jury looks and says, you're young. I don't think you need the million. I want to reward someone else who maybe needs the million because then like the money part's coming into play, or maybe people kind of look down the age. I'm not quite sure. Do you think that's a real thing? And if so, and let's say you go on season 43, like what, and you're 18 years old, what can you do to try to counteract that?
See, that was like, it's really funny you say that because that was my biggest narrative going into Survivor BC because I've played games online where I was the youngest person by like 10
Hmm.
years, right? Everybody's in their 30s and 40s, and I'm like, they're like, hey guys, I'm 15 at the time. So I definitely understand. I definitely think there is a bias because I made it to the final two and I lost unanimously in that game, even though I won 6 competitions in a row or something like that. And it was crazy. And I handpicked the jury and dismantled them all, and I played a beautiful game. But there was definitely that kind of bias because like I don't know if we really want to reward you at 15 years old. Like they said that exact thing. So I was like, okay, well I'm
Because some
sorry, I
people are
just
feeling
want.
bitter. It's like, wow, here's a person half to a third of my age beating me. I don't like that. I'm not going to reward that.
Exactly. And that was another reason as well. They're like, yeah, we don't really like that you just outsmarted us all at your age. And so, I definitely do think there is that kind of bias, which is like another reason why earlier I said I wanted to wait until I was a little bit older to apply for Survivor because I don't want to be overlooked, even if I play this wonderful game. You know what I mean? Because just
Hmm.
because of my age, like, oh, you might be irresponsible with the money, even though, I saved that $500 and I'm
You
I'm
mean you
going to
didn't put it all
college.
in GameStop?
Uh-uh.
Oh man, that would have been the dream.
That would have been but yeah, I definitely do think there is that bias as somebody that's like felt it, maybe like not as much to the severity as like
Hmm.
an org, you know what I mean? But going into Survivor BC, I was like, uh-oh, like I said in like after I won my speech, I was like, I thought I was going to be one of the first three out. Like that was my guess. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I said that in my opening interview as well. I was like, well, I really hope they don't look at me as, oh, just young guy, let's vote him out. You know what I mean? Because I've always kind of felt that bias being like the youngest in orgs and stuff like that. So I was definitely worried about it because it does. I think it definitely does exist. So.
Mm-hmm. There's one more player that we haven't really talked about. Let's talk about Deshaun. I think Deshaun has a very tumultuous journey in the game. That really is at the final 8. He flips on Shan, and from there he's found himself in a minority. He's trying to throw truth bombs or truth kamikazes to try to give himself some leverage in the game. And despite being thrown into fire, he finds himself at the final 3, and the jury isn't very thrilled with them. Talk to me what your thoughts about his game.
I think Deshaun was playing a really, really good game until, I think he made that one flip and really stressed himself out with it and then kind of just like lost himself from there. Like, I don't think he really knew where he was going after that. I think he did play a really good game. And he deserved to be in the end. Like,
Mm-hmm.
taking that initiative to be like, okay, I'm going to play on my own because maybe he didn't feel like he could beat the other people in his alliance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a good move by him, but I think he was like red for filth in a sense as to like, why did you do that? Like morality speaking, you know what I mean? So I think he did play a good game, but I think he kind of fumbled with the ball, just like Xander a
Mm-hmm.
little bit in that kind of a sense where he really let like the quickness of the game and the stress
Mm-hmm.
of it just kind of be like, oh God, okay, what did I do? You know what I mean? So I think he fumbled it a little bit in that sense.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's difficult. Like we've seen the label of emotional player land on people, and people tend to jurors can look down on that. And I think he kind of garnered that label, and it was very hard to shake at the
Hmm.
final tribal council, especially with probably Shannon and some other players felt like he played in a very volatile manner. That they're like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
So beyond the final 3, what were some of your other favorite players this season?
I really, really, really liked Ricard. I know
Mm-hmm.
he's like a big fan favorite of everybody. I thought he was gonna like the way that he was being hyped up so much. I was like, oh boy, he's not gonna win, which is why I was like, okay, Team Xander, let's go. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I was rooting really hard for Ricard. I think he played a really good game. He had a great
Mm-hmm.
story as well. I'm always a sucker for people that win a lot of challenges. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I definitely really liked Ricard's character. Another person I really, really liked was like. I was really surprised to see like I made like my predictions at the very beginning and like Abraham and Sarah were like up here on my list and I was like what just happened? I thought Abraham was going to go so far and he was first boot. So I was like okay, what the heck? I was like sitting there complaining. I was like what is this? You know what I mean? So I really liked Abraham, but he was
Mm-hmm.
first down. So
Well, let's talk a little bit about Ricard. I mean, going in the finale, was there any option available to him outside of win and win everything?
I see, like I see myself in him in that kind of a sense,
Mm-hmm.
like in my Survivor BC kind of journey, because like it's like okay, once you get to that certain point of the game, people stop taking you, if people stop looking at you like okay, yeah, I really like you, but then
Mm-hmm.
they're like okay, you're gonna beat me, I gotta get you out of the game.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I
mean,
mean? So
you yourself were in a, I think probably after Final Five, you won 3 immunities. I think from literally from there on out, you were do or die. You had the win. Even maybe from Final 6 at that point, I think your alliance is starting to look at you and saying, this is starting to be a problem.
yeah, I was told at like the final 7 immunity challenge before I had won any challenges. Jamie looks at me and he goes, "You got to win this or you're going home." I was like, "What?" You know what I mean? So that's why he was like a little bit slower on the our destiny part, and he kind of left it for me. You know what I mean? So it told me that it was like a do or die at final 7, and then after that, I was like, okay, I need to win them all in that kind of sense. Maybe I didn't need it after that, but I think final 6 I might have been a little bit okay. But then I
Mm-hmm.
definitely agree with you. Final 5 to final 3, if I didn't win, I was unanimously gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I accepted. I still loved everybody, but it was like that whole entire day 6. If I didn't win the challenge, I think I would have been out of the game. So I definitely, I see Ricard's like journey in that kind of a sense, and I really respect it. So
Mm-hmm. Um, so looking back on the season as a whole, like let's talk about the pre-merge. The show threw kind of a lot of mechanics at us that we hadn't seen before. We saw these beware advantages. We had this journey mechanic where you go and play the prisoner's limit and an idol. What were your thoughts on that?
I actually really, really liked it. I think in a sense, like to have people from different tribes be able to go in and talk
Mhm,
or make those bonds. And we saw like a lot of bonds formed through that, which I really, really
mhm,
like that aspect of it. Like that little journey up the mountain, you get to bond
mhm,
with somebody and then you get to make a decision with them or against them. Like it was like a perfect little narrative of like, okay, let me get to know you and trust you. And then you get there, it's like, okay, can I trust you? You know what I mean?
mhm.
So I thought that was a really good one. I thought the risk your vote thing was like a perfect little not too much of an advantage kind of a thing. It was like a like a prisoner's dilemma kind of a thing.
Mhm.
So I really really liked the twist this season, and the shot in the dark was a really good aspect, even though it was only used like what, once or
Once.
twice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sydney used it, and I think mostly it was the threat
yeah,
changed how people acted.
I maybe think like the 1 in 12 shot or the 2 in 12 shot or whatever it
Yeah.
was, maybe that was a little bit low. Made people not want to even risk it at all, but
I mean,
it was kind of like
what
a Hail Mary.
what should it be for you to risk it? Let's say you come back for Survivor BC All Stars, and there's a shot in the dark twist, but maybe better named.
Yeah.
And what are the odds? What's the odds going to be for you to feel comfortable going for it?
Like in a sense, I think it's like a looking at it, it's like a 1 in 6 twice, you know what I mean? But I feel like having like a 25% chance,
Hmm.
maybe. So maybe like a 2 in 10 kind of a thing. I don't know. Or like a 2 in 8 kind of a thing.
Hmm.
It's like a 25% chance I think would make me go, okay, if I'm in
Hmm.
danger, I'm gonna do this because it's like a 25% shot, 1 in 4.
But I think what's fun about it is because that exists, it even not idols already do this, but even more to the extent you have to make sure your target is feeling they have hope, right? As long as your target has hope, they're not going to take it. But if your target knows there is no hope, they're coming for me, I'm doomed,
Yeah.
then they're going to shun the dark it, right? So God force them to play your way, right?
Mhm. Definitely, definitely.
I think for me, I love the mechanics and stuff they did this season. I was like, for a live reality game, this would be amazing. But for televised Survivor, when it's 42 minutes, it's a lot to jam packed in each other. And I feel like they should have gone either Beware Idol or they should have gone the journey mechanic. But both together, it was a
Mm.
lot to kind of fit into the story. And I feel like that they would have done really well to kind of have one of the things kind of be the
Yeah.
focus versus all the things happen.
I agree. I think like the pre-merge felt like I had to watch the whole time. Like I couldn't go on my phone or anything for a second. Like I had to watch the whole time and be like, okay, what is happening? Like it felt like there was a lot to absorb. So I definitely agree. I think it might have been that. I really liked the idol twist where they had to say the phrases and stuff
Mhm.
like that. That was beautiful. But like at the same time, it was like everybody knew about it, so maybe it kind of lost its little power. But I don't know. I thought it was a cool little twist.
So your season, you find the hidden immunity idol at your tribe pretty early on, and let's go into some hypotheticals. Let's say you find the idol and says to activate, you need to say this phrase, and
Hmm.
some other tribe needs to say the corresponding phrase. Would you have said the phrase? Would you have waited for the other tribe to say the phrase? I'm not even thinking about the other downsides. So let's just say you have to do some work to activate it. It's like, would you have said like, yeah, let's go for it, or
See, I like if this is an option, I would wait until the other tribe says something.
mm-hmm,
Because if I'm saying this thing about goat on astroturf or butterflies being dead relatives, like every single time I go to a challenge, people are gonna be like, okay, what the hell is this guy doing? You know what I mean? So I think I'd probably wait. Like if I were to find it like within the second hour, like I did on Survivor BC,
mm-hmm,
I would wait. I would wait until somebody else says something, and then I would pop my little phrase in there when
mm-hmm,
they say it. You know what I mean? Because they would probably go first. Because that's like the normal incentive to do is just to go. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say this. Um, and then if we both go to the merge, and I don't know, I would just say it at the merge or something like
mm-hmm.
that, because then they probably have it too, or else it wouldn't be an option. So,
So let's say you find a beware advantage and you open it. It says, hey, now you've lost your vote until this idol's activated, right? Does that change things radically for you?
um, with I don't know, like it depends on like I don't know, your vote is so important
Hmm.
in the game. So I think it definitely does, like, because that was what it was. But I don't know if I felt like I was in a good kind of a position. Like I don't know, I've never really see it would depend on like what kind of a tribe I was on. If I was on like an Uwa kind of tribe,
Hmm.
I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna say this phrase every single challenge.
Yeah.
But if I was on like a maybe even like a Yasa kind of a scenario, or the other one. What was it?
Luvu and
Luvu.
Yasa. Yeah.
Like if I was on a Yasa or a Luvu kind of scenario, maybe I
Mhm.
would hold off a little bit until somebody else says it. I think that the one thing about that twist that I was like, is there was 3 tribes,
Mhm.
which seemed like a little too much because it was like forever until that third one was there, and they were
Mhm.
saying it both of them in this every single challenge, and then it was a long time for that third one. So
My favorite conspiracy theory. I don't know if it's actually conspiracy theory, but I've seen people argue that production must have moved that Luvu idol someplace super, super obvious, so
mm,
someone can finally find it, so they can finally
yeah,
get the payoff of everyone saying these things.
that would be funny. Yeah.
That's why I've seen people kind of like when their tinfoil hats on say, "Oh, they made it more obvious." It's like when there's a Boer advantage that's literally sitting by the fireplace of each camp and get the people go on the nighttime adventure, and you're just like, why would you just not say each tribe send a person to do this? Like
Yeah.
it felt very cute. Like they just like put it right in camp or right in front of people for people to get, so people had to find it.
Yeah.
Um, Talking about the merge, so let's just say you're Xander. Would you, or like you're in the merge tribe, right? Swap out whatever player you want. What would you have been doing? Would you have done anything different or tried to sway things differently as the merge began?
See, going into the merge of that game, I felt like the lines were already pretty heavily drawn in the sand, minus like Yasa.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the way that it went, I don't think it would have gone any other way other than, going into the merge, picking off the Yasa. I think that's the only other way that people could have gone about it, because there was a very strong Luvu group which needed to be taken down, and there was also like Uwa and Yasa were like, oh hey guys, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I think the narrative of it like made a lot of sense. And I don't know if there's very other ways to play it, at least from like my kind of
Mm-hmm.
thought process right now. I think the way that it went was like exactly how it should have went, like in that kind of a social experiment. So,
Mm-hmm.
I other than like picking off the weak, staying as like Luvu, let's go. I don't think there's very other many ways to play it.
Yeah, I think Ricard and Shan kind of defaulting to that UA majority as they kind of form on the Liana, Deshawn, Danny, and Shan quartet. I think that really immediately said like, well, this is not going to be a us versus Luvu. It's going to be Luvu and friends just doing what they want.
Yeah.
Um, what were your thoughts on the do or die twist this season?
Do or die.
The Monty Hall problem that Deshawn got the wrangle with at the final
Oh
7.
boy, that I thought it was a little overpowered, and I saw a lot of people think pretty negatively about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I thought it was cool. I thought it was intense, but I'm glad it didn't work in a sense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think the game would have been fine without, because it felt like kind of random. It felt kind of randomly placed. It was like they went to a challenge and they're like, "Oh, hey, by the way, first person to drop if you stay."
Would you compete?
I think, see, it would depend on my place in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it made perfect sense for the people that did compete. It made perfect sense for the people that didn't compete. I'm somebody that is like, I feel like I'm pretty okay in challenges a lot of the time. So regardless of what it was, I think I probably would have still competed, just
Mm-hmm.
because, I don't think I would have been first out. But then I guess in the same sense, Deshaun felt really comfortable and then dropped the ball like 3 seconds in. So you
I've
never
done
really
that
know.
challenge, and there's no one way I'd ever compete in that challenge knowing that I could have an immediate shot of going home losing because I suck so
Oh,
badly when I
yeah.
did it. Oh man, I was a shaky mess during it, and like I was the first one out when I did it as well. So like, nope, 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 not competing. Like, this is not worth the price of admission. If that was me,
Yeah. Interesting. Well, yeah, I don't know how I would fare in that challenge. I don't know. I feel like I'd probably like just looking at
you've
into it,
won
because
endurance challenges.
yeah. I don't know. The one balance one. I don't know how similar it was to the one with the gauntlet in my toes, but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I would. I think it'd be okay. I would probably go for it just because I like to
Mhm.
compete. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'd probably go for it.
Well, there's one player left we haven't really talked about, and I'd love to spend some time because I think she might have been. A lot of ways she's the player of the season. It's Shan. I think Shan had a very impressive and entertaining game, and I think her issue is she wanted to be the mastermind and just control everything. And I think that's hard in a sense, and I think it ended up biting her, even though she had such sway and so much power between an extra vote, and then she had the idol. What were your thoughts on her, and what could she have done differently?
I really, really like Shan. I
Hmm.
really loved her from like the very beginning of the game. I think it was like first episode. I was like, "Yep, this is someone who's gonna go far. I'm gonna root
Hmm.
for this person." I really, really liked their game. I don't know. I think they did everything that they kind of could with the cards that they were dealt in the game. I don't
Hmm.
know if switching up. See, I don't know
She
because
had
it's
an
like
idol,
she
right? Like, and
did.
she went home with an idol. So there's a lot of things she could have done still.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe playing a little bit differently with like what kind of people she went after like right
Hmm.
away in a sense. Like I don't know, she was like really blindly targeting like wasn't it Ricard and Xander?
I think she wanted Erica out. Erica was
Erica?
like she was gunning for. I think. Let me check their wiki. But I'm pretty sure like Erica was the person she voted for. Like
Mhm.
when she went home.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah. So when Shan goes home, it's a 3-3-2 and Liana, Shan, and Erica. So that's the only tribal council Erica catches votes is when Shan and Liana are trying to get her out.
Interesting, interesting.
And even the previous episode, that the final 10, when we had the tribal councils, she wanted Erica out.
Mm. Right, okay, yeah, I do remember that now. I remember that. Um See, it's tough because it's like one thing could change the whole game,
Hmm.
kind of a sense. I don't know. I think there's a little like a couple of things she could have done differently. I mean, there was like the idol, she could have done that, but I see. I don't know. Did she have that extra vote in that tribal council? She went home. No.
She burned it. She burned it at the final 10 vote.
Okay. See, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really remember too much from like the little meat and potatoes
Hmm.
middle of the season. So
I would like to propose a theory that I think voting at Nasir was wrong for her. I
you think
think
so?
that she needed to wrap up Nasir into the web and make him feel really good, make him feel like you and me, I want you there, and like really, because I feel Nasir's a person you can like really sell on a alliance that's not good for him. Like I just feel like if she had really worked on him and brought him in, and then take out Heather, then at the final, I feel like either Nasir could still have been in her court, like Nasir would have been comfortable voting with that Luvu majority, and or maybe the answer is she just needed to play the idol, like and just like no, things are going too easy, or maybe it was the issue is she told like Ricard like, hey, they're gunning for you, and she really shouldn't have and should have waited. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I see like it makes sense with like the Nasir thing. I felt
Mhm.
like he was very like impressionable when it came to like alliances and stuff like that. Like I feel like you could if you really really worked on him, I think you could get him to stick with you through things even if it wasn't like the best for him. So I do see that. And yeah, maybe it was just playing the idol when things felt too easy because she was it a blind side when she went?
Oh yeah, she was blindsided.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was that awareness. Maybe a lot of people were lacking that. So I don't know. I don't remember too much of the like little bit the middle part of the season. So
So after this podcast, you get a phone call and you pick up and it's Jeff Probst, and Jeff is like, Braden, I'm already starting to put together my cast list for Survivor 40X, which will be a returning season. I don't know what the theme is. Could be All Stars, could be Second Chance, could be Fans vs. Traders. Not sure, but I give me 2 to 3 players you would like to be on the short list for bringing back for that season.
to bring back, oh boy, see, oh boy, I okay, Malcolm Freeberg.
Well, from this season, from season 41.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, from this season.
Yes.
People I think deserve a second chance.
Whatever like you want to be. It could be All Stars, Second Chance. This could be your first boot season. So therefore, Abraham it needs to be there.
I would go with I think how I would base like seasons where you come back unless it's gonna be like all stars. I would say like no matter what, I think Ricard needs to be there. Whether
Mhm.
it's like all stars, second chances, fans versus favorites. Ricard is there. I think Xander might fall into the same kind of same list as that. And then I always like to throw some like I don't know like a pre-jury like
Mhm.
if not like I would say like Shan.
Mhm.
Probably Ricard, Xander, Shan. Um,
And your wild card would be
my wild card. I want to see some. I want to see Voce come back.
okay.
I think he had a lot of missed potential. I was
Oh
really, really
man, that
rooting
was
for
a
him.
heartbreaking episode where everyone's like, we don't know what these do. Let's just
Yeah,
the safe vote is Voce, and Voce is like, this sucks.
I really,
Yeah.
really, and I also I was a huge fan of like somebody that needs a second chance is JD. When he's a little bit older, I think JD should come back and play the game when he's not gonna like be really like clueless as to what's going on
Give
the
his
whole
advantage
time.
to someone twice so they can vote him out the second time.
Right, right.
Just small things like that.
Yeah, I really I thought he was gonna do well, but then he was dumb, and I was like, oh okay, okay, JD. Yeah, I think that person I think he deserves a second chance.
Well, so after you tell Jeff Probst this, Jeff says, "Hey, season 42 is already done, but we're formulating season 43. What from season 41 do you want to see come back, and what should we just kind of never bring back?"
So like that idol twist where they say the phrases, I don't know if that'll work again
We're
because of
getting
the
that
kind of
season 42. That's coming back.
right, right. But they didn't see season 41. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's
So
like
it'll be
there's no
new for those
aspect of
players.
like, yeah, they're not gonna be able to be like, okay, that was a weird sentence. They have an idol. You know what I mean? Like people are gonna be looking for that now. So they're gonna have to find a different way to go about it because if they have people saying these phrases all the time, they're just gonna get voted out. You know what I mean? Because everyone's gonna go, oh, you don't have a vote. Bye.
But you like work. Idols require work to activate. You like that idea.
I do. I do really like that idea, and I think if they can find a different way, like maybe they bring back the coconut twist from the Edge of Extinction or something like that. I don't know. Like I like having to work for idols because sometimes it feels like in the sense of like I don't know Ben from
Mhm.
Heroes, Hustlers, Healers, like it was easy to just go out there and be like, okay, it's 5 in the morning. Let me wake up and go look for one because I know it's
Oh, there
there.
it is.
Yeah.
Right where I
Oh, there
sleep.
it is. I'm fine. I win the game now. So I don't know.
Mhm.
I think in a sense, working for an idol is definitely. I really like that aspect. So they're
Mhm.
gonna have to find a different way to do it now because I don't think they can do the phrases anymore because people will be looking for it specifically. So
Mhm.
I think if there's another way for people to work for idols, I think they should definitely keep that kind of an aspect
Mhm.
in the game.
And what's fun about season 41 is there was no idol found after the merge. We only had the 3 pre-merge idols. 2 went home in people's pockets, and a third one nullified 0 votes. So in a season where people are like, oh no, there's gonna be all these advantages they're seeing the game, end up not mattering in the long term things. And like players either played around it or they were missed, or I don't know. And I would like to say the extra votes still had some sway in the votes themselves, but the idols themselves ended up not playing a large part in how the strategy went. Well, no, they shaped the strategy, but they weren't used successfully.
Right. I think one of my favorite parts about like idols and advantages in Survivor is the way that it changes like the social dynamic and like the strategic dynamic of the game. When people
Yes.
try and like form a vote, they formulate a vote and they go, okay, perfect, let's pile all of our votes on this person. And they go, okay, wait, but what if they have an idol? And that's like another stage to thinking. You know what I mean? So I definitely really, really like the strategic social aspect of idols. Like maybe even more than like a good party idol play. You know what I mean? So I think it's really cool to see people go, okay, well, this can't be the easy option because what if they have an idol? Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should split the vote. I really like. Yeah, that's where like the voodoo plan came in. Like I don't know what season that was. It was like season like early.
Yeah. Plan
Yeah,
Voodoo.
yeah.
Was that Fiji?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But it was like early on. I really like how that comes into play because of the idol. Like that big historic split the vote survivor thing wouldn't be a thing if the idol wasn't there. You know what I mean? So I really, really like the aspect socially and strategically more than like the successful idol kind of a sense. So I think they tied in really well.
And what are you telling Jeff? Like, hey, we don't need this again.
Um do or die. Definitely. I think it was pretty, especially if it was me in that kind of scenario. Like I just think it was a little bit unnecessary and kind of randomly placed. I liked the sit out of the challenge kind of a thing, but I thought it was like a little random for where they were in the game. Like, cool, yeah, big twist, but I don't know, leave that to Big Brother or something like that.
Do you watch Australian Survivor?
I don't, but I really,
Okay.
really wanted to. I just started like I just started watching Token Chains, like on Video Brother. It's like a website.
Well,
Uh,
Australian Survivor does some things amazingly well. Great challenges, the best like season preview like trailers ever. They have final twos, and it's like you people and like I love a lot of aspects as well as like you get some really good profiles in the players. One of the things I don't like is some of their twists end up being really stupid. You're like, what?
yeah.
And when I saw the do or die, I'm like, oh no, this looks like it came directly from Australian Survivor. No, Jeff, don't. This is not what you should be taking from Australian Survivor.
Oh
Take the
no.
final two. Take the challenge ideas. Don't take some of the stupider twists Australian Survivor has done. And yeah, I would be fine with the do or die. It did die.
Yeah, I hope it dies instead of does. Definitely.
Well, Braden, do you have any last thoughts or things about season 41 you want to talk about before we wrap up the season for the books?
I don't know. I think it was a really, really good season. I think to drop the 4, keep the 1 was a really good little theme that they had going on. I really thought that they breathed a new life into Survivor. You know what I mean? Because they're starting to get like, okay, returnee season, returnee season, returnee season, weird newbie season, returnee season. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I thought the last little era of Survivor was kind of like a sleeper for big Survivor fans from back in the day, if that kind of makes sense. So I think this season is definitely like a new life to Survivor, and I think it's definitely I thought it was really good, and I thought it was like a really good story. I think all the players played phenomenally. I think I think it was just a really good season overall, and I'm excited for Survivor 42. If they say it was much better than that one, so I don't know. I really liked it, and I think that there was a lot of like really good characters. Like a lot of the time, there's like I don't know 3 main characters that emerge from a Survivor season or something like that, and there's not that many lovable people. But like I can remember people like Abraham, I can remember JD, I can remember Voce. You know what I mean? Like it was really good editing, and it was really good characters, and I really really appreciated the season as a whole. So I think it was a good one. That was a good one.
Well, Braden, thank you so much for taking the time this morning to talk about Survivor 41 with me. I'm sorry that you won't eventually be the first Canadian to ever win American Survivor, but I look forward to hopefully seeing you on it someday. At the very least, I will see you maybe this summer back for Survivor BC. Survivor BC will be doing 2 seasons this summer. We have season 9, which will be an all new player season, and then season 10, which should be an all-star season. And so who knows who will be playing? I know I won't be playing, but there will be other potential. There will be a lot of Survivor BC veterans potentially battling out this summer in British Columbia. Braden, where can people find more about you? I know you stream.
Yeah, twitch.tv/BRADENRDS. I stream like almost every day. I built a Lego set for 6 hours yesterday, so I'm a little exhausted. That's why I slept it. But yeah, I stream almost every day. If you look up Braden RDS on like pretty much anything, you'll be able to find me there. So that's me in a nutshell. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, cool. Hey, Braden, thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Live Reality Games will have more material on all the other games currently airing, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much.